Of course, they all need to be put in jail. John Durham, the former special prosecutor who was brought in by Barr, John Bolton, the president's national security advisor, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and him too. Before that, he was the director of the CIA, then he became Secretary of State, and Gina took over at the CIA. Gina Haspel, by the way, she should be put in jail too. That definitely needs to happen. They, being members of the Trump administration, were hiding evidence that it was Hillary who came up with the connection between Trump and Putin, and they prevented this information, that it was all a hoax, from leaking to the press. So they were complicit. Russiagate, whatever it's called. And they were hiding the intelligence report that was given to Obama before he left office, the same one that Obama later ordered, well, to put it mildly, to be completely rewritten in order to smear Trump. I've told you for a long time that Democrats and Republicans are two sides of the same fake coin, haven't I? Both of them. Both of these groups of thieves tried to get rid of the man who was preventing them from making money, who was interfering with their division of the money stolen from you and me. The prosecutor, the special prosecutor, basically hid it from our eyes. Evidence of Hillary's ties to the Kremlin and documents that could have fully, completely confirmed that Trump was not connected to the Kremlin.
Thousands of pages of intelligence on this case were only available in paper form. Employees had to flip through thick folders with broken rings and no dividers. I hate how many convictions you got. John, I think there was only one, and I think Michael Sassman was acquitted because of your pathetic team. So when it comes to points, John, you're losing. A sensational report is now circulating all over X. You see, dozens of people have posted it and are sharing it. A few weeks ago, on November 19th, RealClearPolitics published a headline, exclusive, how Trump appointees helped in the Russiagate conspiracy against him. And we all said, yes, we knew that. But now secret documents are emerging, showing who these people are and exactly what they did. This is a report by Paul Sperry from RealClear Investigations, and we've covered this for a long time. Trump was targeted from his announcement, facing Hillary's dossier, the tape, the peace story, Steele, and more. But now we're putting it all together. We're getting these documents that are coming out in parts, as we're told by RealClear Investigations. You know, when officials from the Obama administration fabricated the so-called United States intelligence memo linking Trump to Moscow after his surprising victory in 2016, they had no idea that Trump's own people would help them undermine his entire presidency and his chances for re-election in 2020. But RealClear Investigations analyzed recently declassified documents which we obtained here, covered, and put together this report. Listen to this list of people. Former Special Counsel John Durham, and we feel like idiots for supporting Durham here on the channel. I remember years ago making a preview, Durham will be awesome, he'll find all the bad guys. Then we read his silly report and we had to look ourselves in the mirror and say, next time do better, John Durham. John Bolton, who sent classified materials to his family and his America Online account, was the national security advisor whose account was later hacked by Iranians. Great job, John. Also, Mike Pompeo. Remember Mike Pompeo, who wanted to eliminate Julian Assange, saying that he basically needed to be killed? Mike Pompeo? Yes, him and ex-CIA Director Gina Haspel. What did they do? They either hid or buried all the evidence that questioned the fundamental document of the Russiagate hoax. The intelligence community report, prepared in Obama's final days, was the same one he was briefed on until the transfer of power to Trump. In the last days of December, Trump is about to take office. In January, Obama meets with his intelligence officials. They talk about Russia. Nothing is happening with Russia. Then suddenly something happened. They removed the daily presidential briefing from his desk. He didn't read it. Then they came. The next day they said, we have new intelligence. And then Clapper, the head of national intelligence, said, on the president's orders, we want to start a new investigation on Russia. They all knew, as Comey noted in his handwritten records, that Hillary Clinton was behind it. And this was even before Trump came to power. Then Trump comes in. All these people are appointed. They're his own. And that's why this is important. It's happening right now. There are Make America Great Again moles undermining the mission there. Probably, but then all these people come in, and the evidence of the scam and the coup they tried to pull off against the people of our country, they covered it up. Durham, appointed by Bill Barr, stopped the declassification and release of key exculpatory evidence that would have disproved the intelligence community assessment right before the 2020 election. I see. They were all involved in the cover-up.
Both Democrats and Republicans, some openly and some secretly, fought against the man who could take away their piece of the pie. If there are people like that in the new administration, I hope none of them are among the top officials. But we already know that there is sabotage going on inside the FBI, and that Patel and Bongino have started an internal investigation into the leaks, destruction of documents, covering up cases.
According to recently declassified reports, and they covered it up. Although Trump-appointed officials may not have initiated the weaponization, they facilitated it. They hid evidence exposing these claims. They claim that Russia tried to help Trump. No, it didn't. That was a false statement. Now, by hiding Joe Biden's own role in this deception, they may have helped Obama's vice president win this tight race. That's how the Justice Department hid evidence that Democrats falsely accused Trump. Former Trump National Security Advisor J.D. Gordon said the Russiagate betrayal was obvious, and some cabinet members abandoned Trump. Instead of making the hidden materials public, just publish the evidence. That would have cleared everything up, but they didn't do it. They let Mueller idle daily on cable news network while Jake Tapper repeated Trump-Russia collusion. Even his own cabinet members like John Bolton abandoned him.
John Bolton, who demanded that the United States bomb everyone, get involved in every war, basically every war, and act as global overseers. That same John Bolton said that the president, well, Trump, yes, betrayed him. So now it's clear that he was just a decoy and an accomplice to the crime.
The suppression can be traced back at least to the mid-18th century. Trump was already in the thick of things. At the time, Fred Flitz, National Security Advisor, and John Bolton's Chief of Staff secretly sent stolen Iranian information to his wife and kids. Our National Security Advisor emailed classified materials to his wife and daughter through Telegram or a similar app. Signal, all of this is documented. The Iranians hacked his end-of-life account, so he deleted it. Our National Security Council. That's why the country is doomed. People like him are in charge. They studied the raw, processed, and concealed information. Former CIA analyst John's chief of staff, he wanted to find out what had been discovered over the year. So he went to the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue to read the draft of the classified report in a secure room in the capital, United States of America. Flights told RCI he was amazed to learn he had worked for John. Investigators found significant intelligence supporting the intelligence community assessment's conclusion. Russia clearly preferred Trump and sought to help him. All of this was based on poor quality, fabricated data. It's all made up. House investigators found these assessments partly relied on the Steele dossier and propaganda funded by Hillary Clinton's company. Reports with baseless accusations already declared invalid. They said the MAR distorted the significance and credibility of these dossiers, with all other evidence relying on them. This is poisoned fruit. Mara called the dossiers Russian plans and intentions, exaggerating that Hillary's campaign propaganda was exposed. Flights who worked for Bolton believed that Bolton should be informed. He said, "Man, I was just in the CIA headquarters secret room and read this document." He said, "John, you need to read this unpublished House report. This undermines what the media are saying right now. They're saying that Trump and Moscow colluded. They kept shouting, 'You'll never accept the election results, idiots.' But you did this for 4 years. Trump won." And Hillary sat there giving silly speeches like, "You can all do it with your little microphone." Acting like a troll in blue. Remember, they can steal it from you too. Just accept it, Hillary. You lost, were a terrible candidate, and couldn't even stand. They had to throw you into a van. There was collusion in the 2016 election. They couldn't let it go. Cable news network covers Trump daily. Russia collusion. Jake Tapper calls it a great song. He went to his West Wing office, sat at the secure computer, wrote a summary, and said, "This is a scam, John. Do something." But Bolton didn't tell Trump. "He didn't do anything about it," said Flates. "He never told Trump. I never heard anything else." The key evidence that should have been released right away to justify this scam. Bolton didn't advance this because he aimed to sabotage the operation internally.
John Bolton, invited by Trump to the position once held by Kissinger and Brzezinski, betrayed and sold out the president who wanted to end wars, not start or escalate them. Thank God, it continues. He's already on trial for leaking United States secrets, but for what? He previously exchanged Trump, and Pompeo Charmer was appointed by Trump to head the CIA first, then as Secretary of State. He was considering the presidency, smiling kindly at all of us, at the president whom Mike Pompeo betrayed.
Mike Pompeo. Remember, Mike is one of the slipperiest guys who must have taken 100 shots of Zempic or something like that because he lost a lot of weight. What Flates didn't realize was that the CIA was meddling in the House's IK case investigation because it was involved itself. Yep. Trump's first CIA chief, Mike Pompeo, who wanted to kill Julian Assange, doubted his predecessor Brennan was also corrupt. He was so wrong in his assessment of the intelligence points on Russia. As I heard from the Intelligence Committee's disclosure, we showed him the draft, but he didn't believe it. He said, "We must be wrong about much of this," said Derek Harvey. He says, "Let me check this. It looks convincing to me." No. John Brennan said, "It kind of seems true." He said this, which means he knew it wasn't actually true, and he said that the CIA did not approve this report, but the CIA analyst who wrote the report said that he approved it and wrote it himself, and he described in detail the entire conversation that John Brennan had. And then we got another letter from Clapper. When the FBI and other intelligence agencies objected, Clapper sent a letter back. He said, "Mia, stop whining. This has to be a team effort. Clear? So shut up and sign the document because we have to submit it as a team effort. Some things must be accepted." All of this is being shown to Mike Pompeo from the Trump administration, and he's like, "Well, I don't know, we're the CIA and that's it." In the end, we didn't get much cooperation from Pompeo, despite numerous attempts to contact him by mail and phone. As senior director of the Center for Law and Government at Liberty University in Virginia, that the efforts of the advisor to Ukraine's leading defense contractor Firepoint in Kyiv were unsuccessful. Honestly, that's treacherous behavior. Clearly, if you work for the president, you have an obligation, an oath, a duty to do your job. When you get evidence within your jurisdiction that the president should know, you violate your oath and disservice your country by prioritizing the CIA and Ukraine's interests.
How do you like that Ukraine has come up again, which it really seems is being used as an unaccountable pocket for money? Pompeo. I'm sure at that moment, at the moment of betrayal, he wasn't thinking about money. He just used to be in Congress. I mean, well, he's tied to 100 shadowy figures by close bonds of joint robberies. How lucky we are that Trump wasn't elected in 2020. I'm not being sarcastic right now. And he had 4 years to develop policies and plans to find and mentor a group of seemingly untainted young politicians, lawyers, and officials from various law enforcement agencies who haven't yet become part of the system that Trump calls the swamp. After Pompeo, Gina came to the CIA. Gina Haspel, I always mix up her last name.
In my opinion, these guys are traitors. Gina Haspel, Pompeo's deputy, remember her name, apparently played a bigger role in hiding information. Yes, a CIA veteran. The CIA is a dump. Pompeo put her in charge of daily operations. Consider her like Lisa Monaco or Merrick Garland. Apparently, she didn't like Congress staff investigating the agency's spy methods used in the top-secret and closed operation. Sources told Real Clear Investigations. She maintained strict control over the field audit conducted by investigators from 2017 to 2020. The House investigators had to get clearance. They went to the reading room in Langley every day to study the documents that the CIA used to justify the intelligence community assessment, and they had to lock up their laptops and materials. When they left for the night, Haspel didn't allow them to take even their notes out of the office. Nothing from the publication. Another source familiar with the operation said investigators suspected the CIA of spying on the Intelligence Committee's Capitol computers. Congress goes to the CIA to exercise a little oversight, and meanwhile they're thinking, oh great, they're not around, so why don't we hack their machines? They told then-Chairman Devin Nunes that the CIA was tampering with their computers. The agency made them write the report at headquarters, possibly monitoring them, and only after denying them computer access during the first months of the investigation. The CIA's intentionally malicious changes made the computers unstable and unreliable. They're like, just give them a 1999 Pentium 486 with a 14.4 baud modem. Let them use that. They can access the files. It's an iMac 2002 signee. They'll have fun. The computers made the devices unstable and unreliable and basically interfered with their probe. Yes, because they wanted to protect their institutions and the CIA's operations, so they didn't want the truth revealed. So, in the report obtained by RCI Real Clear Investigation, the authors of this report added that strange equipment failures led to blurry lines of text that couldn't be read, requiring reboots to fix, which sometimes resulted in the loss of text or footnotes. This is our government. They can't even provide you with a working station. Researchers repeatedly requested suitable computers but were denied due to lack of funds. They were also denied the software needed to search for this data. Thousands of pages of intelligence on this issue were only available on paper. Employees flipped through thick folders with broken rings and no dividers. I hate this. Someone from the CIA went through all the folders and, those things that clip together like this. Someone snapped the edges shut, so now they all close this way. They should close like this, but instead they close like this. And now, turning this page always snags on this one, making you want to burn the whole library down, Pompeo and Haspel also limited access to the 5 brands. Do you recall how they did that? They split it up so some people wrote certain parts of the report, and you couldn't see the other parts of the report. And they said, well, we'll tell you what they said.
These are Trump appointees. They didn't let the staff, the congressional staff, we call them aides, so the congressmen's aides as well. The Trump appointees were hiding the Democrats' crimes from the Republicans. They were hiding things from Congress, not letting them find evidence of the Democrats' crimes. Can you imagine something like that continuing? Bukovsky once told me how he went to the Politburo archive on Yeltsin's orders, the Politburo, the Communist Party of the Soviet Union Central Committee, of course, and what the procedures were like there. So it was actually easier and more relaxed in the Communist Party of the Soviet Union Central Committee.
This once again highlights why Pompeo is making it so difficult for Congress to investigate the corrupt attack and slander against his boss, Commander-in-Chief President Trump. Why is this happening? Open them. Here's their proof. The Steele dossier. Why do we have to fight for this, lose the election, then come back, win the election again, remove Pompeo, before we start getting any evidence of this? Kash Patel, Dambongino, Pambondi, they could just throw the files out the window right by the Capitol, heat up the White House lawn, and we could all dig through them. You get it. I'd prefer if they scan them and neatly organize them for the internet. But you understand why you're obstructing. You work for President Trump and the American people. But this evidence exonerates President Trump. You'd be a hero, so why obstruct if there's nothing to hide, Mike?
Why did they hide the sins of the Democrats and not let their own president be exonerated, gave up the president because he wasn't one of their own? He's not a swamp dweller, he's an outsider, and he needs to be removed by any means necessary so he doesn't drain our beloved swamp. And now, the one we all thought would get to the bottom of it, would find everything out, would get to the truth. He did get to the truth, but he didn't show it to us. On the contrary, he hid it.
John Durham says. Still, John Durham, remember him? We thought he was so cool with his mustache, made us look foolish, he says. As Trump's first term ended, another chance arose to expose the Obama administration. Ironically, this was prevented. Honestly, if they appoint another special prosecutor for this, I'll be pissed if they pick someone like James Comey or appoint Joan Durham again. And we'll all be waiting in vain for the Joan Durham report to come out. Look, he's in another building again. Attorney General Barr appointed Durham, a longtime Justice Department colleague and friend. He did nothing and wrote one of the worst reports we've seen. Such whining. It's supposed to be an honor to be part of the Justice Department and conduct this investigation, but nothing like that happened. Durham's 2023 final report raised serious questions about the investigation. His key decision likely came in late 2020 when he halted efforts to reveal a plot to weaponize United States intelligence. That October, then, Director of National Intelligence John Redcliffe sought to declassify and release a critical 44-page report contradicting the Obama-commissioned intelligence community assessment that Moscow supported Trump. Remember, that was the main conclusion. Now that the intelligence community assessment was finally declassified this summer, it sparked a storm of controversy. This led to an investigation of Brennan and Clapper and to the indictment of Comey, because we found out that all of this was based on Hillary Clinton's campaign propaganda. The CIA knew it was fake. They knew that Hillary Clinton was trying to make this connection, and they still used it as the basis for the whole campaign. But in 2020, John Durham knew about this, and what did he do? He insisted on keeping it secret. As we suspected, Durham is also a pathetic coward. Durham claimed that he used secret reports. The AGA was prepared by two staff investigators from the House Intelligence Committee. During the investigation into whether the FBI and CIA were weaponized against Trump, Durham specifically requested that the report not be declassified and not be published, among other reasons because he wanted to use it as part of his investigation and prosecution. Who was held accountable? John, how many were indicted due to your work? A few, and how many convictions did you achieve? John, I think one, and Michael Sassman was acquitted because of your pathetic team. As for the score, John, you lost. I'm so tired of this. There were sources and investigative methods, but nothing happened. It was a cover-up, and he hid evidence. He should also be investigated. Redcliffe, now the head of the CIA, agreed to hide the report. He was like, fine, and it stayed hidden for 5 damn years. The new national one would have vanished completely, buried forever if Kamala had won for good. Then Tulsi comes in, the strongest player on the team, and she released it almost without any edits. In July, it was so tough, the country collapsed, the CIA vanished overnight. Unfortunately, no, but John Durham could have, and he didn't. Why? After we gave Durham the report and over 1,000 pages of classified documents, he disappeared. He says Trump was set up and suggests I accuse everyone. John Durham wants me to accuse Comey, Brennan, and Clapper. I'm in big trouble, so he didn't want to do anything about it because he's a coward. And they're like that. They're just cowards. They protect their organization. Lindsay Halligan has more guts than Durham and Barr combined. Although Gabbard's documents clearly show that the intelligence community assessment was the key document, it was the basis of the whole scheme. Durham nearly ignored it, only referencing it in a page 7 footnote of the final scandal report, quoting it and naming SMER, also the intelligence assessment. Nowhere else in this 316-page report is OROS mentioned, even though it was the basis of the whole scheme because it was a cover-up. John Durham was the cleanup crew, and this is not in the recently declassified appendix to the report, even though Durham questioned 2 Obama officials responsible for its preparation. Brennan and Clapper, he questioned them. A former top intelligence official said, I don't know why Durham missed this, but he would have had to charge them, and he was a coward. Attempts to contact Durham for comment were unsuccessful.
If, after Kennedy's assassination, his brother had become president, then all the members of the Warren Commission, including, of course, Dulles, would have been imprisoned, and for a long time. And not just for covering up the crime. It's possible that some of them were involved in organizing John F. Kennedy's assassination. So for them, Robert was a serious threat. And he was killed. Just like this pack tried to kill Trump, but it didn't work out. That's all. Now they're just fighting back at all hours and defending themselves by any means, using dirty, filthy methods so they don't end up on the other side of prison bars. Well, I really hope not all of them. Sometimes during Maslenitsa, cats get skinned.
The secret intelligence support activity now serves as evidence in investigations against Obama officials, including Brennan. And Barr and Durham couldn't do that because they needed to protect the government and stop Trump. For them, it was much more important than getting justice for Brennan, Clapper, and other people who are just government officials like Barr. Because if they are held accountable, Barr will say, I'm next, dude. And if Barr is next, then maybe Durham is too. We're all responsible for our institutions. There was also a surge of grand jury subpoenas for Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, and other Obama-era officials who should be in prison. Durham's decisions are still influencing the debates. Washington media are skeptical prosecutors will find anything compromising, saying Durham already investigated this. Durham said to look here, but I told him I'd already checked. No, not him. However, Trump officials doubted that Durham did anything, that he didn't investigate anything, because he was just idling around on Bill Barr's orders who told him to clean things up. They point out that Mueller and his team didn't find evidence of collusion between Trump and Russia, but still sent FBI agents to go after everyone. They received grand jury subpoenas, they requested phone records, they demanded more documents, they went after people. Now Carvey claims that the CIA conspired to fabricate evidence against Trump. They all were involved. They were simultaneously running an intelligence operation against his company, presidency, and America as traitors. The intelligence community was a key part of the conspiracy, but it was used as a pretext to obtain warrants and conduct investigations against Trump and his advisors, and this paralyzed his entire administration. A month after Trump defeated Clinton, Obama ordered the CIA and others to go back and find something that would show the Russians tried to hack it. Obama gave the order from the Oval Office. Comey was there. Brennan was there, yeah. They broke into January 6th participants' homes in 2004 and arrested them for insurrection. It was a top-level coup, and they're all free. Meanwhile, our Department of Justice and FBI mention a 10% crime drop for urinating and relieving themselves in public places, which is great. Nobody wants people urinating in public, that's fine. But we want justice for these traitors. In just 3 weeks, the CIA found new evidence. It's about you. More evidence is needed. Barry, you know what I'll tell you? Putin personally started an influence campaign to help Trump win the election. The report used by Obama and Clinton to explain her defeat hid that it was based on fake propaganda from Hillary Clinton's company. Career analysts opposed using the dossier, but Obama's top intelligence officer, John Brennan, overruled them. A senior intelligence analyst, now a Justice Department whistleblower, reported leadership threats. Sign it or face consequences. We're the CIA and FBI, so join us or things will go badly. The whistleblower worked under then-Director of National Intelligence Klepper, who was a coward and relied on his assistant to send emails for him. He also stated that he contacted Durham's investigators. He said, "John, I have evidence of tampering and raw intelligence." But Durham asked, "Who is this?" Regarding the conspiracy evidence, we'll call back and send it straight to the shredder.
Not only did they not know, not understand, not suspect, they were telling people, you're going to be in big trouble, and then a shot in the back. With this speech, it was clear to everyone what the hint was about. About big trouble, like Putin had. People were falling out of high-rise windows, like what happened to a good friend of mine. His son fell and the next day he got a call. If you don't keep quiet, your second son will fall too. The same thing is happening here. Either the Obamas, the Clintons, even the Bidens easily crushed people like us, and everyone knew that there were 84 bodies trailing behind the Clintons. Quite a few close people who knew something and could have and were planning to share this information, these details. Like Obama's chef, who went swimming at his Martha's Vineyard estate and drowned right after telling publishers he was writing a book about Obama and his meetings with friends for whom he cooked and served snacks, and probably listened to some interesting conversations. His name was Tafari Campbell, a very handsome black homosexual, reportedly a very close friend of our Barack Tafari. He was an excellent swimmer, but suddenly sank like a rock. And from Severodvinsk,
There was probably information related to ongoing criminal investigations, but John didn't want to talk to them. They tried to make it seem like Trump and Putin were working together, but there was no evidence. If you read the intelligence community assessment report that we have, Brennan and Clapper come across as real bad actors. This was an operation. Both knew Hillary started this, and Brennan and Clapper didn't respond to requests for comment. But John Bolton's chief of staff says they politicized and manipulated the intelligence, and this was obvious to anyone who read the report, including Bill Barr, John Durham, John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, Gina Haspel, and many others who worked for the president. I mean, it's just a stab in the back. It's such treachery. You owe him your position, and if you won't even support this cause, then get out. You're a coward and just a pathetic excuse for a man. And that's what I think about these people. I hope we push the Department of Justice and FBI to keep investigating, because we want justice for their actions here. Let me explain. Charge them. Let them explain themselves. But why did they obstruct presidential orders, presidential directives that would have helped the country understand the truth about what the Democrats did? Because they were running an operation to stop Trump, as always.
So, as we've said many times, there isn't a separate Democratic and Republican Party. There's the Uniparty, as it's called here, a unified political swamp where everything is mixed together and everyone is only out for themselves. But as soon as an outsider comes along, if he's dangerous, they unite into one vicious pack. Today, the youth of the Democratic Party decided to stand out from this swamp, but they've moved toward radicalization. It seemed to them that since the capitalists are so bad, they should be fought with bombs and bullets. They had already tried to fight the bad ones. Since the 19th century, their older comrades taught them to be beasts, and now they're devouring those older comrades simply because they turned out to be the closest ones. So yes, Arbinovich, why did we run the red light at the traffic signal? That's what was burning there. I was making subtitles, and as for you devouring your own, it's just because they were nearby. So they crystallized around the communist Bernie Sanders. They like his ideas. Take anything or anyone anytime, set off the alarm, and we'll shoot them. Great idea. Vladimir Ilyich Lenin already did this, and Josif Vissarionovich, who took him out, also did the same thing. Among the Republican Party, there were such young people, well, just as young we can say yes, but with ideas of individualism, small government, and more freedom. And they crystallized around Donald Trump. And on both sides, the active forces now are those who hate the swamp, but the left, often without realizing it, are leading us toward tyranny. And through the dictatorship of the majority, then to the dictatorship of the minority, then to a leader, and in reality to violence, to a generalissimo, to the father of the nation, to a wise linguist, well, maybe a female linguist, or maybe just a label. And it's important, really important, that freedom will smoothly turn into the safety of imprisonment. If we win, and I really hope that we do, life will be difficult. Subtitles. You will have to try hard, you will have to push yourself, learn, compete, but life will be more fun, more interesting, and more honest. Subtitles. Don't forget to subscribe, ladies and gentlemen, and make sure to hit the bell. We need its ringing to spread all over the internet. We provide additional videos for sponsors and, of course, for free. There will be a link to my book, Capitalism 101, in the description. They had a good run. Rudy, Giuliani, Sarah, Palin, Michelle, Bachmann. I hope you'll like it too. It's not a dry textbook, but rather a collection of stories on the topic. As someone once said, just like there's entertaining geometry or entertaining physics, this is entertaining political economy. That's all for now. Goodbye. See you soon.